What if I told you nothing you do in Classic WoW matters anymore? I know it's bad news, but unfortunately, someone has to bring the bad news. Welcome back to another video. It's true, nothing you do in Classic WoW matters anymore, at least in most versions. Classic WoW has a pretty big issue. It fails where, for example, a game like RuneScape succeeds. Right now, it fails to provide something very important, especially in an MMO. It fails to provide permanence. And without that permanence in an MMO, nothing you really do matters at the end of the day. Why? It's obvious, because in X amount of time, everything you have completed, it becomes obsolete and no longer provides value for your character. First thing we need to do is look at the current landscape of Classic WoW, the current versions. You have MOP, TBC Anniversary, Season of Discovery, Hardcore, Classic Era, 5 distinct versions. However, 2 of these versions exist in what I'll call the unknown. And the unknown for an MMO is sort of a big problem. If I don't know for sure that the things I do in the game today will matter in 6 months, for example, should I even bother playing at all? At the current time, we have no idea the progression path for these versions of Classic WoW, specifically Mists of Pandaria and TBC Anniversary. What is going to happen to MOP? Are we really going to Draenor? I don't think so. I don't think anybody thinks so. So what happens next? Nothing. It's a dead end. The game is likely going to just stop. TBC Anniversary is likely going to Wrath. I hope it doesn't, but it's likely going to Wrath. And then what? It can't be Cataclysm again. That would be a joke. So where do we end up? Another dead end. That is 2 out of the current 5 that I detailed with a clear dead end in sight. Oh, and Season of Discovery has already hit its dead end with no more support or content planned. Season of Discovery is already at its dead end. So 3 out of 5. Instead of playing these dead end versions, players are searching for any kind of fun events to fill the gap before, of course, Classic Plus. It's clear that the community is itching for Classic WoW content and fresh Classic WoW content. It's why you see all of these events popping up. Streamers and content creators are creating these large-scale events, such as the race-locked event on hardcore servers, or the SOD revival in EU that's happening right now. And these events are getting a lot of players, tens of thousands. Literally, SOD EU has 10 plus full guilds of players re-rolling for that fresh classic experience.
Dude, look at that. We're like a rocket. Look at the server. That is insane, man. It's just like a vertical line up. I think it's even higher than this as well. 7,000 people online. Holy shit, man. Small community event. Hey, I expected like 2 or 3 guilds. Maybe 4 at most. We have like fucking 13 just here.
Race-locked Hardcore had thousands of players across all the races over the past few months. There is a real hunger in the player base for fresh, new, classic content. However, Blizzard is only really providing temporary, quick-hitting classic phases. With expansions, TBC, Mists of Pandaria, these things are temporary. And players and content creators are forced at the current time to do the same thing. They have to fill the content gap with artificial temporary events similar to expansions, to be honest. And I think we all know that this is a failed state for an MMO. This is not what an MMO should be, at least in my opinion. However, fortunately, Classic WoW isn't completely lost. There is some hope even with current versions of the game, and of course I'm not talking about Classic Plus yet, we will in the future. However, for example, Hardcore and Era give us some real hope and some bright spots for what Classic WoW could be. While there is no future content for either of these versions, Hardcore or Era, both have distinct features that will allow these versions of the game to flourish and flourish for a long time. Hardcore has the unique and distinct feature, which is obvious, of permanent death. Once you die, you have to delete your character. You don't have to delete it, but you should basically delete your character. Now, this is obvious, but this matters a lot. What does it provide? It provides consistent, permanent replayability. The permanence in Hardcore comes not from the everlasting character you have created, but the permanence of potentially losing that character. Because of that, the game loop is nearly endless. With permadeath, there is so much content, and the game always feels alive because of it. You know that you're playing Hardcore. If you can keep your character alive, and that's a big if, especially for me, there will be a permanent game loop. There is so much content to do. If you do die, you can go again. It is a sort of endless content loop. And if you can keep your character alive, it's very permanent. And it's a permanent server, permanent game state. Era also provides permanence, just in a completely different form. The content is limited only because it's been around for so long. And it's not as vast, since your character can't die forever. But you know that anything you achieve on Era will stay. That's the real permanence. There's no expansion. Nothing that will defeat what you have rightfully earned as a player through your time. This is why players like Era, because of permanence. You can fully gear out a warrior and get full tier 3, and it's not going to go away. You can continue to use it, and it's still going to be good. Even today, the Hardcore Race Locked event is largely over, but there are some guilds that are still really thriving with thousands of players. Why is this happening? Because of permanence. Because the server is permanent, the game is permanent. For example, the Night Elf Guild still today has 2 full guilds with hundreds of players logging in daily, thousands of players across multiple guilds. Shout out to Shobek, of course, for still keeping that hardcore dream self-found alive on Skull Rock. Absolutely love it. But why do they log on every day and play a dead hardcore server? Because if they can keep their character alive, they know that it's permanent. There's permanence to everything that they do on the server. They feel like their time is not wasted because their progress will not be erased in 1 year's time. So Classic WoW does have some bright spots right now with Hardcore and Era, some things that we can take for learning in terms of, or lessons in terms of Classic Plus. And of course, this is where this conversation must go, is what does this all mean for Classic Plus? These things that are happening in TBC or MOP expansions of the game, this vertical scaling where old content is just replaced and no longer has any value. It's a seasonal gameplay loop. These elements ruin an MMO, and most WoW players think that this is the normal. But if you look at old school RuneScape, it has none of these. OSRS has no expansion loop cycle where everything from before becomes null and void. There's a horizontal aspect to it. And WoW players, they find themselves crawling back to vanilla for that sense of permanence. I think that's why players find themselves wanting to go back to vanilla, because they felt like there was a sense of permanence in the game before TBC. And you have to ask, why would anyone dedicate 10,000 hours to an MMO when they know their work is just going to be destroyed by the next expansion, or just be a dead end, like with Mists of Pandaria, for example? How does Blizzard fix it? By creating a Classic Plus with permanence. How do you do that? That'll be a standalone video. I will talk about that. It's a deep dive into other games, how they are doing it, and what we can bring to Classic WoW and Classic Plus. So what do you think about all this? How are you feeling about Classic WoW currently? What are you playing? Are you playing TBC, Hardcore, maybe Mists of Pandaria even? I don't know. And are you optimistic for Classic Plus? I know Classic Plus is a hype word. It's going to be talked about a ton, especially going up to BlizzCon. But are you optimistic? How do you feel about Classic Plus? And we'll discuss Classic Plus much more. I don't want to use it as too much of a buzzword in this video. Thanks a ton for watching this video to the end. If you made it all the way here, I really do appreciate it. It's nice to be back. I'm going to be making videos here for the foreseeable future, and I look forward to putting out more content like this. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and comment. It would be much appreciated, of course. Maybe even throw me a subscribe, as I'll bring out more videos like this in the future. Till next time, cheers.